Santa Fe 911, what is it? It's the emergency.
Hello, my name is. I think we just found one deceased person inside a house. What's the address here?
It's actually incredible that in the first few seconds the reporting party mentions someone is deceased, and then a minute later the dispatcher is still asking questions like, are they moving? Are they talking? Does he not know what deceased means?
Due to the unusual circumstances of two decedents in the residence, there was a concern for scene safety. Santa Fe City Fire personnel and the New Mexico Gas Company were requested to the scene to test for carbon monoxide or other foreign elements. The scene was deemed safe, and approximately 9:30 p.m., a search warrant was issued and executed on the residence. Both individuals tested negative for carbon monoxide.
That's a clip from Friday's press conference. Now, there have already been several errors in this case. The length of time since the victims passed, the front door being locked, when it was the back door that was ajar. I think they initially misreported that it was the front door that was open, the type of dog that was found in the home.
A German Shepherd was also found deceased, and two other dogs.
And then after initially saying all the residents tested negative for carbon monoxide, there's now been a correction to that with regard to a small gas leak that was found at one of the stove burners that's inside the Hackman residence, measuring 0.33% gas in the air. Also, as I've already mentioned, the 911 dispatcher didn't seem to have a clue what was going on, leading to the caller voicing his irritation.
Okay. Are they moving at all?
No, dude, they're not moving. Just send somebody up here really quick.
There's also been at least one so-called expert talking about how, quote-unquote, troubling one aspect of this case has been.
Omar, one of the most troubling things about this is that this house was not secured. The door was actually open. And for me, as a death investigator, that's significant. And
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science. Now, I don't really rate Scott Morgan's assessments really that highly. It is very early days. Within days, months before the toxicology is released, the authorities have already admitted that they are confounded by the situation. Yet they say they are certain there wasn't carbon monoxide poisoning.
That's true. You're certain?
And of course, you can't be certain about anything 1 week into an investigation like this.
No, I don't think the space, now that we've ruled out carbon monoxide, unless there's something else that comes back in the toxicology report, that we have to look, we're going to look.
Well, exactly. Something could come back in the toxicology report. I mean, that's still outstanding. And so in a news conference on Thursday afternoon, Sheriff Aidan Mendoza said it sounds like they had been deceased for quite a while, quite an unspecific length of time there. And he says, I don't want to guess in reference to how long that was. This is an investigation, so we're keeping everything on the table. Well, everything is on the table except a gas leak. How easy is it to determine carbon monoxide poisoning from 9-day-old cadavers? How can they say with certainty this early on that it's not carbon monoxide poisoning? How can they know for sure there wasn't carbon monoxide poisoning before the toxicology results are out? It's also concerning that none of Hackman's 3 children seem to notice their father not being there for 9 days. According to the BBC, 3 of Hackman's children from a previous marriage confirmed the death of their father and Ms. Arakawa in a statement to the BBC. He was loved and admired by millions around the world for his brilliant acting career, but to us he was always just dad and grandpa. We will miss him sorely and are devastated by the loss. That was from Elizabeth Leslie and Annie Hackman. One does wonder when was the last time they communicated with their dad and grandpa. Now, although Hackman and Arawa wanted privacy and seclusion, it seems where they found themselves ultimately was isolation. Before we get to the rest of this analysis, welcome to the many new subscribers to this channel. Look out for the next video on the Ramsey case. It's going to deal with a really interesting intertextual element that's coming probably tomorrow. Look out for that. If you find this analysis worthwhile, please hit the thanks button and let's continue. Now, you would think no one this famous ought to be missing for 9 full days without anyone knowing. You would even think someone who's an ordinary citizen shouldn't kind of go off the radar for 9 days. That's almost 2 weeks without anyone noticing. You know, it's also concerning how there didn't seem to be much of a community. This wasn't a standalone house. It was a house inside a complex that they were staying in. And I know one resident said that they shared the same gate, but had never spoken to Hackman. Wow, nice neighbors. It does make one wonder if the two only had each other, you know, if they were effectively quite isolated and had been quite isolated for some time. And if Betsy found Gene Hackman deceased on the floor, if she was very close to him, you know, so close to him that perhaps she felt she couldn't live without him, you know, that he was the only person effectively in her life in a way. Did she make some kind of decision? Again, toxicology might provide answers to that question. What's tougher to find out if this scenario holds any water is why Zinner died, the Australian Kelpie. Some owners are very close to their pets, and if Betsy wanted to take Zinner with her, so to speak, why put her in a crate? I spoke to a friend of mine who has a similar dog and, you know, loves dogs, and she said if that was the case, it would have made more sense to have the dog with her, physically right next to her when she passed. In order to understand why Zinner was in the crate, we really need to get to know these people a little better and their habits, including how they treated their pets. Were there any people that were inside the home regularly that knew this? Also, coming back to time being a key here, what time of day did this likely happen? Early morning, evening, midday? It seems likely it may have been morning from how the victims were dressed, and perhaps Zinner slept in a crate, or perhaps Hackman and Arawa were about to get dressed and go out. Now, bearing in mind we don't have access to the toxicology right now, if you take that snippet of information, the dog dying in the crate, that, in my opinion, raises the likelihood of a gas leak. And although I don't think Hackman and Betsy died exactly simultaneously, they may well have died within minutes of one another. Once again, time is an important question here. Betsy may have been outside and came in through the back door, only to find Hackman on the ground, and she then responded. I'm not going to take it further than that. In the next analysis, we'll examine the likelihood of a gas leak more seriously. Thank you for listening. As I say, look out for the next video on the Ramsey case, and I'll see you guys next time.